Today, we are diving into a totally different kind of power. Not the loud, look at me kind the world seems to celebrate, but something much deeper. A quiet, unshakable strength that comes from within. Let's get right into it.
I mean, think about it. We're constantly bombarded with messages to be louder, to be more visible, to build your brands, to be seen. But what if real power isn't about being the loudest voice in the room? That's the big question we're unpacking today. Could it be that silence and substance are actually your greatest assets?
Just look at the scorecards we're all supposed to be using. On one side, you've got the world's metrics. How many followers? How many likes? Are you constantly visible? It's a game of chasing external validation. But on the other side, you have the inner metrics of the quietly powerful. Authenticity, personal peace, depth, and real mastery. They're playing a completely different game, one that's won on the inside.
So how do you even start playing that inner game? Well, it all begins with building what we're going to call the inner anchor. It's a massive shift in where you get your sense of self.
This is the absolute core of it. Seriously. Internal validation means your self-worth isn't up for debate. It's not a daily poll you put out to the world. It doesn't depend on who likes your post or invites you to the party. You're not twisting yourself into a pretzel trying to fit in, because you already know who you are and that you belong to yourself.
And this mindset, it's really built on a few conscious trade-offs. It's about deciding your own peace is more valuable than popularity. It's about trading the noise of constant attention for the deep clarity and focus you need to build something that actually matters. You start to realize that feeling whole by yourself is so much better than feeling like half a person in a crowd that doesn't get you. And that means you become incredibly careful about who gets your time and energy.
And for anyone out there who's been told you're too much or too intense or too difficult, I want you to really hear this. This is such a critical reframe. It's not that you're hard to love. It's that you're hard to control, you're hard to manipulate. And that's not a weakness, that is a profound strength.
Okay, so having a strong internal mindset, that's the foundation. But how do you protect that anchor out in the real world where things get messy? Well, it really comes down to two key actions: setting boundaries and practicing discipline.
Now, this is a vital distinction, and so many people get it wrong. We think boundaries are about telling other people what they can and can't do. They're not. A boundary is a decision you make for yourself in advance. It's about saying, if this thing happens, here's what I will do to protect my peace. It is 100% about self-control, not controlling others.
So how do people try to push past these boundaries? You got to watch for these two classic tactics. First, urgency. They create this false pressure demanding an answer right now so you don't have time to think. And second, repetition. They just ask and ask and ask again, hoping to wear you down until giving in feels easier than holding your ground. Just recognizing these tactics is half the battle.
Now, the other half of this whole framework is discipline. You know, we're sold this idea that we need to feel motivated to do things. But motivation, it's just a feeling. It's fickle, it comes and goes. Discipline, on the other hand, is a system. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. It just asks, what is the work that must be done? And then it builds the structure to make sure it happens.
And this leaves us to a really powerful, kind of hard truth. Every single time you choose the comfortable option, scrolling on your phone instead of doing the work, hitting snooze instead of getting up, you are literally casting a vote against the person you claim you want to become. You're trading your future greatness for a little bit of cheap, temporary mediocrity right now. And that brings us to maybe the most crucial point of all. Goals are just wishes. Standards? Well, standards are who you are. Real, lasting change doesn't happen when you write down a new goal. It happens in the moment you raise your standards and decide that your old way of being is just not acceptable anymore. You will never rise to your goals. You will always fall back to the level of your standards.
All right, now let's talk about some traits that the world often labels as weaknesses, but are actually, when you look closer, incredible sources of strength. It's all about the reframe. Have you ever been told that you overthink things or that you're just too sensitive? Well, there might be a biological reason for that. It's called high sensory perception. It's not a flaw. Your nervous system is just tuned to a higher frequency. You're not just thinking, you're perceiving way more data, tiny microexpressions, subtle shifts in someone's tone of voice, details that completely fly past most people. So I really want you to let this sink in. That ability you have to see what's really going on beneath the surface, to know when a smile doesn't quite reach the eyes, that is not a burden. It is a gift. And it's a gift the world desperately needs, especially now.
And here's how your quiet nature becomes a secret weapon. Try this. In your next conversation, after the other person finishes talking, just wait. Count to 3 in your head before you respond. The world is so terrified of silence, that pause will feel uncomfortable to them, and they will almost always rush to fill it, often telling you the very thing they were holding back. Your silence becomes an invitation for the truth.
So to see how these principles work under extreme, real-world pressure, we're going to look at a pretty fascinating masterclass in composure and boundary setting. Tom Cruise in a couple of very famous interviews.
Okay, so here's the first scenario. The interviewer, Peter Overton, asks a deeply personal, invasive question about his past relationship. Now watch the response. It's not angry, it's not defensive, it's a simple, calm statement of fact.
The tactic here is just brilliant. There's no yelling, no storming off the set. He just calmly states the fact. You're stepping over a line. And then he adds the masterstroke. You know you are. With that one little phrase, he hands all the social responsibility, all the awkwardness, right back to the person who created it.
Okay, here's the second example. This time it's Matt Lauer, and he's repeatedly challenging Cruise's stance on a topic, trying to frame him and box him in, but Cruise just refuses to play the game on Lauer's terms.
And this is a masterclass in controlling the narrative. He doesn't get defensive. He doesn't even accept the premise of the question. Instead, he calmly dismantles the interviewer's entire line of attack with quiet authority. By stating, "You don't know the history, I do," he's not just arguing a point, he's reframing the entire conversation, positioning himself as the expert, all without ever raising his voice.
So, we've walked through the mindset, the framework, and we've even seen a real-world example of this quiet power in action. But you know what? At the end of the day, this all comes back to one person. It comes back to you.
Here's the unavoidable truth, for all of us. The clock is ticking. Time is going to pass whether you take action or not. 5 years from now, you're going to be 5 years older. That's a guarantee. The only part of that equation you have any control over is who you will have become by then.
And so that really leaves us with the final, most important question. No more excuses. No more, "I'll start tomorrow." Are you ready to stop trading your incredible future for a comfortable present? Are you finally actually done wasting your potential? The choice, as always, is yours.